Perfect. Thank you so much. So I think there was some slide that said something, something, and beyond. I think we're the beyond then. So I'm Tuomo, co-founder and CEO of Rentle. Like Anton or Andreas, I don't know which he prefers now, but it's kind of. I'm gonna do a short intro of what we do, but in a super quick and dirty way, and I'm gonna piggyback Shopify a little bit here. So in the market of let's say commerce platforms, how we look at the market, there's the Amazons like you referred. Then we had a presentation from Shopify, which are still quite largely tuned towards the linear commerce model and enabling that and empowering that side of things. Now we have this emerging thing of circularity, which I'm going to talk mostly about, where we have on the Amazon equivalent might be Grover, for example, that does. For the ones that do not know Grover, they have about 2 billion in funding. They do tech electronic subscriptions in Germany, US, one of the largest players in subscriptions. And we're kind of the Shopify equivalent of this. So if Grover is a consumer brand, we are a white label commerce platform enabling merchants to launch circular offerings. Just as a quick thing to kind of from the enterprise side, one of our customers, for example, is Decathlon. If you know them, it's a sports retailer brand operating globally. We are empowering their whole UK operation, where they launched rentals in all of their stores in UK and in online, and are also powering their subscription offerings on that market. So we're kind of this white label platform behind the scenes, enabling any retailer or brand to launch circular offerings. Now maybe to the interesting part, if you're here as a retailer, what is this thing that we're tapping into? If you're familiar with the kind of Gartner hype cycle world, circular economy is this thing that is now in that innovation trigger scene. It's this thing that is assumed to be something that is going to be transformational in nature. I'm going to talk a little bit about why that might be, but it's adolescent, but it's estimated to reach kind of the plateau in 5 to 10 years. So, and by transformational, another way of saying that is it's existential threat for most of the retailers. The retailers like Decathlon or Wrap, for example, see that if they're not able to react to this, both in in-store environments and e-commerce, they will die as a brand. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We've touched upon, actually, I think, on pretty much all of these. There's increasing regulation. In European Union alone, there's 12 different legislations that are pushing retailers to take responsibility of the end of life cycle of any good. Essentially, to simplify, everything that you sell out will come back to you, whether it's by design, as you sold it out as a subscription or a rental, or due to the fact that you have a buyback program, or you're just taking back junk by design. This is also kind of the consumer demand side is driven by soft values like sustainability, but also super hardcore economical drivers, that the fact that cost of living crisis, cost of goods are going up at the same time as consumer purchasing power is going down. Decathlon has a good example on this. For many, it actually depends a little bit on the market, but Decathlon represents affordable sports. Now they're not anymore capable of producing sporting goods on that affordable price point, due to manufacturing costs, due to global supply chains, and due to inflation on the consumer side, which is forcing them to figure out how do we productize our stuff in a more affordable price point, other than selling the ownership of that good. Then McKinsey has been referred also many times. I think McKinsey is the favorite of everyone. The reason in circularity circle why McKinsey is everyone's favorite is that McKinsey is making a super big stance on that circularity is a field where you should play offensive and not defensive. It's not something where you should be mitigative in your behavior. If you don't react to it, you will die as a brand. That's kind of their argument. And they've done X amount of estimates that about 500 billion is estimated to be transferred on circular value pools by 2030. Driven by all of these things. So maybe for the retailers and brands in the audience, or the question is that, are you equipped to capture the kind of the 500 billion under your own brand? So there's these couple of choices that we can discuss. I was just sharing the stage with the head of sustainability and innovation of IKEA in a retail exhibition, where the question really is that almost like Tobi Lütke and Shopify removed all of the friction that there was for anyone to launch e-commerce offerings. One of the original taglines of Shopify, I think, was rebels against Amazon. saying that all of e-commerce will not happen in Amazon. We will do e-commerce under the brands that we love and what we kind of trusted to love. And now I think that world is moving more and more towards social commerce and kind of, like Anton said, consumer to consumer. But it's the same thing with circularity. I don't think we're gonna buy all of our product subscriptions from startups or aggregator brands like Amazon or Grover. I'm gonna go to H&M. I'm gonna go to IKEA to still access the goods that I love, whether it's via subscription or whether it's via buyback programs. But all of these things are gonna still happen under their own brand of the merchants. There's a couple of interesting stuff that, why does it take 5 to 10 years maybe? What makes it so hard? Why isn't it a plugin in Shopify? There's a couple of operative things that also happen on the background for many of the merchants. And these are kind of your classic decisions that have everyone from like vertically integrated retailers like IKEA and Decathlon have certain benefits and they have a different approach. Then maybe smaller or more horizontal merchants look things from a different point of view. One of the big things is that, well, can your technology handle the fact that the goods come back to you? Does your inventory management, for example, support the fact that all of your items are actually unique? They're almost more of a collectible than a kind of a SKU and a number. Another big thing for many merchants, usually for the SME market, less of a problem because they've gone to business for the love of bikes, for example. So they actually have, since the day zero, already kind of offered maintenance services or similar because they love the bikes. Maybe at scale, this becomes a little bit harder, but you have to figure out, how do I handle inspection and refurbishment operations? I get stuff back. How do I do this? And there's a couple of ways to go about it. You can go internal. Decathlon did a big thing about saying that we are sports professionals. They already sell the maintenance as a service out. So they just utilize the same capability that they already have internally. Patagonia, super similar. Rab from UK, super similar. They invested in actual refurbishment capabilities because they know that that's the way to be a sustainable brand. But you can also partner. There's UK is actually full of these partners. ACS Clothing. If you are in the clothing industry, if you want to see what clothing refurbishment is at scale, it's as cheap as flying to Glasgow, taking about 30-minute taxi, and then going to ACS Clothing's warehousing or refurbishment center. It's the most sustainable B Corp setup that I've ever seen. They handle about 20,000 garments a day through the system. It's quite impressive. And then maybe one thing that we've seen many retailers think about is that how do you handle reverse logistics? So reverse logistics have been there. Some have made it kind of their go-to thing, that I can go to Zalando and order 20 items and I know that I need 2, but it's so easy. There's X amount of unsustainability aspects to that that probably we want to fix as a commerce community. When you go circular, it's not anymore that you maybe get 10, 20, 30, 40% returns. You kind of hope to get 90 or 100, because especially if you're a vertically integrated manufacturer like IKEA, you actually want all of the goods back because you analyze it, and then based on that analysis, you actually adjust your product design already in the manufacturing phase, and you start making stuff more sustainable from the kind of really first day. But what we've learned that what matters, and we asked this from Håkan from IKEA, and then we asked this from Decathlon, and the answer is size matters. And this is maybe the part in life where size matters actually. And then because if you have to take back a furniture like a sofa, it's a little bit, there's less of boxes that you can kind of take to the local post office and say that here's the sofa and can you send it back to IKEA. So there's X amount of super interesting stuff that is happening there in the market. But I want to also try to kind of simplify this change in the world that into a format that even your friend that might be an investment banker would appreciate. So this is like, normally we talk about sustainability as this fluffy thing that let's save the world and regulation is on our side. If you want to kind of convince your investment banker friend, you can say that, well, in all simplicity, we can say that how the world is changing is that if we look into balance sheets of these retailers and brands, under there you can find a part of current assets, which is essentially the inventory. Now, in the linear commerce world, our business is about buying stuff to our current assets and selling them out with a margin, right? It's based on global supply chains, etc. We've been moving towards a world where we can mass manufacture cheap stuff and sell it with a margin and still meet that affordable price point. When we go circular, things start to change a little bit. It's driven by the megatrends where you can simplify that we start to have fewer but more valuable unique articles. Husqvarna, as a Swedish brand, good example. They talk about this is driven not only by the global crisis that we might have, but also due to the fact that they're changing engines from gasoline-based engines to battery-based engines, and those cost more to manufacture. The price goes up. My critical strategic customer base cannot afford that price point anymore. What do I do? And then what they decide to do is that they start to servitize their inventory. So they start to provide those items out as via subscriptions, rentals, or then provide you with a lower price point via buyback program or trading program, so that they don't have to kind of damage the value of the brand at the same time. So what makes this complex then is that when you look into the world via this point, so you kind of start to think about that all of these things that is happening in the world and at the end of the day climate change is pushing us back to a world where we have fewer items that are valuable, durable, and of quality, but we still want to make more money, right? So we are kind of in the need of trying to figure out how to flexibly productize our inventories via various different ways, and an individual item can actually be part of free sale stock and all of these things, and the world becomes a little bit more complex. Now, just to kind of give you a small point of what we do, we are a circular commerce platform, which means that yes, we're white label, yes, we can do composable. The business models that we support and help large brands and also SMEs to launch are things like subscriptions, rentals, buyback, and secondhand programs. We've built around that by design. One of the things is, for example, that our product tracking or inventory tracking is not only SKU level, but every article is unique. It's more about if you receive back whether it's a t-shirt or a bike or whatever, if it's been used, it's unique, and you have to figure out that unique ledger of that item. There's X amount of other stuff, but the business models of commerce platforms, you can actually go to and read Shopify's prospectus from 2015. That's a pretty good read to kind of figure that out. There's a bunch of legal people that have detailed everything about that. So one of the things that we've been kind of doing, we provide white label storefronts, and you can also take it via APIs, but essentially, it's rare that you actually would have all of these for a single product page. But for demonstrative purposes, you can have one product page and multiple access points, just a single product, all tapping into one inventory. So it's kind of making your commerce life a little bit more sustainable. Some of the cases that we've done, Decathlon UK, for example, is one where we're now live in about 45 stores. Motonet is a kind of a Finnish do-it-yourself store. If you own a car and you want to drive 30 minutes to the big box store, this is the place where you go. They've launched things like trailer rentals and tool rentals on top of Rentle. And then Equip UK, so RAB, which I think is kind of the Patagonia of UK, and Eamonn can tell me if it's correct. They've launched a complete kind of pure e-com setup where they do direct-to-consumer rentals of their items. So if you're gonna go hiking or to the Arctics, maybe you want to rent next time your sleeping bags and goods from RAB if you want the best of that they have to offer. So we've started since 2019. We're now about 20,000 merchants, and some of the larger brands are showcased there. Shopify has served, 600 million. We're a little bit less. We're 1/600th of a way from there. But it may be just to kind of showcase the fact that there's actually quite a lot of demand for this. We with fairly limited and mainly organic, we get about 3,000 merchants signing up, 60% from them from US. By the way, as an anecdote, many think that Europe will be the center of circularity. I actually think that it's US, and the main reason is that when we talk with US merchants at the SME side, they're kind of understanding that this is not about sustainability, that this is about that 500 billion market opportunity. And when a US business-driven mind figures out that there's money to be made, they are a little bit quicker to act than your average European merchant. So there's actually US and all of the green deals that they have going there I'm willing to say that US will bypass Europe inside the next 6 years or so. But that was my part. I tried to give you the beyond part and figuring out the future of commerce, and then hopefully that builds up some questions. Thanks.